Hey, what's going down, Savages? And welcome to episode 16 of Le Savage Show. I'm your host, Stéphane Paulin. And before I get to my guest for episode 16, I just want to invite everybody to go subscribe to Le Savage Show, available on the YouTube channel SVGTV. That's SVGTEEV, as well as on all the podcast platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So go subscribe today so you don't miss any future episodes of Le Savage Show. My guest for episode 16 is Ryan Phillips. Ryan is a former hockey player that was once scouted to be a top player in the country at the age of 16. He ended up playing some professional hockey in the United States, where he spent more than 500 days in a maximum federal penitentiary for weed smuggling. He's got a crazy story. They made a Nat Geo documentary on him. He's got a couple other documentary available, one called Ride to Wellness, where he rode his bike across Canada for mental health awareness. Another one called Return to Happiness. Just an amazing, inspiring human being, and I had a great conversation, and I really hope you enjoyed episode 16 of Le Savage Show with Ryan Phillips. So first off, man, thank you very much for accepting my invitation, and welcome to the Savage Show. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Ryan, I'll be honest. I knew of you. I had heard. I believe it was when you cycled across Canada for mental health. I had heard about you. I knew you were a hockey player, but that was about it until my friend a couple of weeks ago was like, we booked this really good guest for our podcast. I think it would be really interesting if you had him on. So I'm like, all right, cool. He sent me your information. I started looking at your videos and your YouTube, and I was like, wow, like the story from itself is pretty amazing. Maybe for the listeners that don't know who you are on my side, if you wouldn't mind, I know it's a long story. And like I said, like I would really appreciate if my listeners would go and watch your videos and watch your TED Talks and
Absolutely. I'll give you links to all that, the TED Talks. I can give you, a link to a film that I produced myself. I can give you a free link with no commercials to the story that National Geographic did on my life. So I can give you some material that you can share with your guests. Absolutely. I have no problem with that.
So let's start by maybe explaining your story a little bit. Like, how did this all start and how it transformed you into the man you are today?
A story within a multitude of stories. Every day is a new story, but the story's never over till somebody sings.
Yeah.
Millions of Canadian kids out there, my dream was to play in the National Hockey League, and everything was a go and green lights, and I had the talent, I had the drive, the motivation, I had the support. And left home at 16. My dream started to become reality as I started playing in one of the obviously the top junior leagues in Canada, which was the Western Hockey League. Unfortunately, I believe everything happens for a reason, and we learn from adversity. But that first year away was tough. My whole junior career was actually really tough, plagued by injuries. On the ice, off the ice issues with substance abuse, not willingly all the time. The hockey culture is taking a bad rap, as it should, with, a lot of the things that go on behind the scenes with the coaches and players, with, rituals, rookie initiations, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the brunt of a lot of that. And, no victimization here. I'm an advocate for mental health, but, when you're playing on a team and being the youngest guy in the team, and all of a sudden, your dreams coming into fruition, and you got guys that are, I think the second youngest guy next to me on the team was 18, and it was 18, 19, 20-year-olds. I'm the 16-year-old kid trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Just, was never a big party guy. I was just, really dedicated to, I was at that time one of the best hockey players in Canada. That was, I was touted for my age. And
well, the fact that you were 16 playing with 19, 20 years old, I mean, that actually adds to the fact of how good you actually were back then, right?
It was just, I always expected the best of myself. I worked for everything that to where I got to. And, I guess, I was a kid, you get thrown out to the wolves there. And, I guess, I thought I knew what to expect. And, it was a complete opposite. I led the team in scoring that first year as a 16-year-old, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great. Like my goal that year was to win Rookie of the Year and the scoring title, and I thought I could do that. I had that kind of skill. And next thing you know, after leading the league in preseason scoring and whatnot, or the team, sorry, coach didn't play me, put me on the fourth line up in the stands, teaching the young kid, the rope, so to speak, that you got to earn your keep. And, all the promises that he told me in that summer that I'd be, playing on the first line and getting all the opportunities. He went, off his word, and, allowed a lot of, what is behind the scenes hockey culture to happen, which was a lot of hazing and, sex, drugs, and rock and roll on another level at a young age. So, it teaches you, you have to grow up real quick. But you don't even know who you are really, because your identity is attached to the game of hockey, which then spins a negative connotation to your subconscious mind. That for me, it was like every time I went to the rink, I was scared. I wasn't really like, stoked or happy to be playing that game that I love so much. It was like the minute you realize that you were a commodity, it was all about the money. It was all about, player agents and the politics that, go involved with the game, that I became very aware and sensitive to that. And, just trying to fit in. And that's just that whole, it's literally, it's like a blur. But when I think about it, and, all the miles put on the bus, all the coaches, all the teammates, and, it was just one of those things. It's all part of the journey, right? So I'm so grateful, eternally grateful to the game of hockey, because I think it's the greatest game on earth. But as far as, some of the culture behind the scenes, a lot of these guys, especially in my era, were never really, given the chance. And I'm just another number, but I was able to kind of pick myself up after another stage of life, which I'm sure we'll get into. And where I'm at now. So
it's funny you mentioned the culture, and maybe we'll talk about it a bit later, because I'm curious to know, throughout your journey of finding who you are and to the point you are today, I'm sure you've quenched, and I've heard you talk about it before, the culture, the hazing, all that. Where do you think, have you found any sense of where that all comes from? We're talking about hockey right now, but I mean, we can talk about it in other sports and other facets of life, like that toxic culture to a certain extent. Did you find any answers to where, like, so that you can really, or for you, like you said, it's a blur. It's just like, I accepted that it was part of the game back then, and I just kind of did my best to stay afloat.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where all of a sudden it's like you're immersed in it, and you accept it as part of what that is. And when you're 16 is a very tender age, especially leaving home at that age, going into a different school, and, just trying to fit in with the older players and whatnot. And, a lot of teams weren't getting it as bad as some of the teams that I played for in junior. And, lucky guys that they were, because it causes major issues, long-term, with mental health, with, post-trauma, trust issues, just the way we use our internal compass to deviate our being through life. And, so it's, but by the time you're done junior at, say, 20, 19, 20, whether you turn pro or not, you've packed in a lot of life experience. And you've seen a lot of things that people will never see. And that's probably what, kind of set me off to do what I did when hockey wasn't working out. There was, the outlet was always, big parties, the fast lane life. That's all I knew. I didn't know any better. And growing up in BC, the marijuana trade was obviously front and center as far as, the underground of accepted, so to speak, organized crime, the cash crop that I pioneered with, a few of my associates back in the day, and at a young age, built a business on that was paying more than most NHL players would make in a year, and we would make that in a week. But definitely taught me a lot about money, taught a lot of me about relationships. I lost a lot of friends, due to murder, substance abuse issues, overdoses, you name it, 50 plus. Went to prison in 2000 for conspiracy to import 103 pounds of high-grade marijuana. That's all documented on the National Geographic episode that they did on, I guess they thought my story of my life was interesting.
It's called King of Weeds. King of Weed, I believe, is the name of the episode on that.
Yeah, Locked Up Abroad, King of Weed. So I'm definitely not the king of weed anymore, that's for sure. But I was pretty resourceful back then, and it was a very highly profitable empire that was built like a Fortune 500 company. Mm-hmm. There was, I had a lot of people. I hate saying working for me. I'm a team player. I always say working with me. On both sides of the border, down south and up west here where it was grown, and it was a full functioning machine business that went on for quite a few years. And you see a lot, and a lot of it was, it became where the money was just didn't even really matter anymore. The money, it was so much that it was a game. And then it's like, wow, I'm in this deep. Where it started off, you're just like that jock and kind of fun, athletic guy, and got all the connections. And then next thing you know, more money, more problems. And, that's when the whole, organized crime aspect really, really came, to a real crushing blow in my experience, because there was a full out gang war going on in my city. And, people that had a lot of money had targets on their back, and, I was one of them. But, I'm here today. I got out, and it was the best decision that I ever made. I don't have a cent, from that industry anymore. I had to give it all away. I lived off it. I'm really grateful for, I had amazing times when I was in that business. Don't get me wrong. There was times that I couldn't even, if you ever watched the movie Blow, that was my life times 1,000. Wow. But it was just marijuana, and you can't put, say 10 plus years in that business into a 45-minute film with National Geographic. It's a 5 to 10 year series on Netflix or Amazon, which we have been, back and forth in negotiations. So,
have you? That's amazing, because I feel that you're right. Like the 45-minute clip, it's beautiful. It tells you the story, go like quickly, but I'm curious to know, and not here right now, but I'd be curious to watch it, because I'm curious about the relationship you build, the people you build those relationships with. And honestly, like you said something which made me think, like after a while, you said the money wasn't even the thing anymore, because you're in so deep that right now was it like you're just trying to keep up your commitment and your side of the deal, basically, so that you don't get off? Is that pretty much what happens at that point?
I don't know about that. I mean, it was just more or less. I was kind of the hub. I was the guy that was the gentleman that had all the connections down south. I played hockey. It started off, I was playing hockey down south. Started off with one contact, turned into 2 contacts, turned into 100 contacts. Wow. Washington turned into Portland, turned into Los Angeles, turned into Chicago, turned into New York. Wow. So at one point I was probably, my, organization, so to speak, that I was, working with, and, with the helicopters, the planes, the rigs, you name it. We were probably buying 80% of the homegrown marijuana in our province. And, you know. But the thing is, I look back and I really do believe on a spiritual level that thoughts do become things, and your dominating thoughts always reproduce themselves in outward physical reality. And that was just my dominating thoughts, was that, just keep it going. It was like the disease of more, almost. It was a game, that's why they call it the game. And, it was like just bricks of money. We're just like, oh, here you go. Here you go. And just a total lack of respect for money too. I had a horrible spending habit back in those days where I was taking care of a lot of people. And, I was definitely, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of spending a month, and it's too much to talk about in too little time. People can tune in on whatever, but I'm like I said, I'm an open book. I can talk about that now, especially with legalization.
True.
And but as I sit and talk here today, it's all about being positive and giving back through experiences that a lot of people don't make their way out of those experiences. So I'm lucky to be alive. And so I find it's my duty to be able to not just give back to, the mental health aspect of life, which I believe is of utmost paramount, especially in today's day with what's going on with the world epidemic. Mental health is at the forefront. People are dropping like flies. And so however I can be of service, just to help people through drastic times of change is a duty that I take it on my shoulders with the utmost of humility. And I believe that my calling is world service, definitely not weed service.
It's funny you say that. I wrote it down. It's written right here. I highlighted. I heard you say those words, world service, a few times in a few different videos that I watch of you. And I wrote it down. I'm like, man, this guy really means what he says. Like, it's not like, and I know the reason why is because I contacted you, someone that we never met before, never spoken. I contacted you on Instagram of all places. And you were like, dude, I'm down for it. Call me. I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, this guy's like really forthcoming about, and then I heard you say these things, world service. And my question is, the Ryan Phillips before jail and the guy after jail, would the guy before jail would say those words, world service?
No, never.
Right?
Absolutely not. A complete ego shatter had to take place before that was encompassed into my entire being. And a lot of that comes with a lot of pain. And, I deal with a lot of, trauma from the past. I suffered a lot of concussions along the way. As we speak right now, I'm actually in the midst of healing my brain through electricity and homeopathic remedies, whatnot, with like NED drips that are like reprogramming my central nervous system, because I was impacted so hard with so many shots to the head with head trauma, obviously. Sucker punched outside a bar one night too, and knocked out for 15 minutes. That didn't do wonders for the melon, but I'm attacking those issues right now so I can be stronger. And it's like the law of vibration, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it. When you shoot things out to the universe with humble sincerity, it believes that it always responds in kind. And serve more and see what happens. And I took a lot from the world, and I've seen a lot of the world and been very blessed with that. So just being able to pay that forward. I don't care if a podcast has 5 listeners. Maybe one of those people needs to hear my message. And, my message is many, many messages through many, many people that can come in and through me. And so I'm just grateful to be in the moment, have a conversation, and keep it real. That's what it's all about. And, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. We can label them as that, but I say I don't believe in failure.
They're life lessons, right? I call them life lessons along the way,
Yeah, we're on the same page. So, you either you learn from them or you succumb to them. And I'm a never give up guy. So I always just try to look in the front view mirror, not the back.
Yeah, it's hard to keep moving forward if you're always if you're not learning from your defeats or from your failures, because then it's like after a while they all become failures and there's nothing left, you know. How long after you realized you were going to jail, how long before that ego got dissolved completely? Was it quick, or was it was a struggle?
Well, I think that, we become what we think about all day long. And when I was in the mix, I became what I thought that I was going to become. I put so much energy into thinking that I was a person that, that I self-created a monster pretty much.
Yeah.
But I never hurt anybody. I hurt people. I would say more emotionally, on the emotional level, but I've never shot a gun before. I was never a violent person, but I definitely got what I asked for. I got what I asked for, and what I asked was, I kept shooting out to the universe that I was going to be the biggest pot smuggler in BC, and be careful what you ask for. Next thing you know, it was got turned into it got so big that it was like, it was really hard to. I mean, I could manage it, but at the same time, it was anxiety. It was a lot. It was. I don't know. I guess you have to watch the movie.
Let me go back to your hockey playing days for a sec, because I thought of something when you were saying something, and I was like, I have to ask him. You were considered one of the best hockey players of your age group back in the day, and there's a pressure on you. You feel that pressure as a 60, and you're 16 years old. I mean, let's face it, your brain isn't even fully developed at that age. You're going through puberty, through everything outside, and then you're one of the best hockey players in the country, and you're trying to balance all this shit in your head. That pressure, was it also a factor in your mental health issues later on in life?
Yes, because I felt that I had let not only myself down, but my community, my parents, and just everybody, because the spotlight was on me at that young age, and even younger. It was Ryan was going to be in the NHL by 18 years old. That's why I left home at 16, 2 years a junior. And I'd be playing in the National Hockey League. That was just that was just the way it was going to be. And, I was told by so many scouts that, obviously the skill set was there, and the mindset, and I had the physical capabilities and the talent, and, a couple of big bangs, in a nanosecond, your career can be just done like that, or a different trajectory. I kept playing. And I kept playing through symptoms that I had no idea that was what it was at the time, was concussions. And I was never the same after that first real bad hit that I took when I got hit from behind my draft year. And it was, and that's, it's all part of it. It's all part of the game. It's rough and rough and tumble, but it's definitely been a humble journey. I think I still got a few more years in me, and a few more bike rides across countries, and I'll never stop. Awesome. Just doing the best I can.
I love seeing people like you. Like, you've risen through adversity, and then you're like, I'm gonna give my life lessons to people that are struggling, so that they hopefully don't have to struggle for as long as I struggle. You said something earlier. You don't care if you do a podcast that has 5 views or 5 listens. I'm the same way. I've been on social media for a long time, and if I have something positive to say, which I think can even help one person, even if it's one person that sees my videos or sees something that I post, if it helps them feel better that day, then I'm happy. I'm not here to get the million likes and the million downloads. It's like, if I can help people through, life lessons, or just saying what I think sometime, and, and giving my point of view, let's talk about concussions for a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, because I come from an MMA background. I did MMA for 10 plus years, and I've had a few concussions, obviously. Not obviously, it's not everybody that has concussion that fights, but, and
Most.
that, I mean, you get punched in the head. I mean, it's part of the game. And when I started, just something I thought earlier, like I started mixed martial arts, I was 24, 25, it was 2005. And back then we just go in the gym, and I remember falling in love with the sport and just jumping into it. And it was like training every 5-6 times a week, sparring, getting hit. And you're not thinking, you're young. You're like, I'm gonna be good. And then I went through concussion after concussion after a while. And I went, man, like my life is changing. Shit is like, I don't feel the same. Oh, all of a sudden I'm anxious. I have all these anxieties, all these fears, all this depression. Like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, oh, let me go see a doctor. And then my doctor is like, yeah, here's some pills, man. It'll make you feel better. And then I go home. I'm like, I'm not a pill guy. I can't do it. So I'm like, all right, I need to find other ways to fix my mental health. And I tried error. And the thing for me that I found out that works really well is working out like a maniac, a fucking savage. So I got addicted to working out. And you trade one addiction for another, but I'll take this addiction to obviously I'm in better shape now. I'm 40 years old. I'm probably in some of the best shape of my life. I got into running. I got all to these things, but for me, physical anguish, physical activities, when I'm done, if I do it consistently, no anxiety, no depression, I'm happy. My thoughts are way clearer. I can think, I can focus. I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband. And that's all that matters for me.
It's all that matters.
Yeah. How long, and what were the first big symptoms that you started noticing where you were, man, this shit ain't right now. There's something that I need to figure out.
Well, after like recent testings that I've had on my brain, I have 8 regions in my brain that aren't working because of serious trauma.
Wow.
The
and this
main
is all
region,
physical trauma, like concussion, getting hit in the head. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So the main part of the brain that is our seat of emotions is called the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is about an almond-sized organ that's centered in the core of your brain, and that vibrates at a frequency, literally just like kind of like a radio transmitter. And that's the fight or flight. So when you're in fight, you're obviously in anxiety mode. When you're in flight, you're in homeostasis, which is in the divine inflow, obviously, when, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere are working in unison. Now, with a guy like me, I had no idea that it was the concussion symptoms. I thought it was mental health issues. Like, okay, maybe I'm depressed. Maybe this all this is from like trauma, Yeah, maybe a lot of it is, but human beings are allowed to feel emotions and be sad too at the same time. So I was misdiagnosed after, I would say about 15 years ago. I started really feeling the symptoms where I was feeling just more detached from my physical body. I felt like really like depersonalized, and I started thinking about my brain. And I would ask other people if they were like, do you ever think about your brain? And one thing I can say is my intellectual properties are still like bang on. They're not, those haven't been destroyed, thank God. And, that's one of, the doctor I'm working with right now. He said, all you're intellectual, you're good. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to write a book and produce films and do public speaking, and if that wasn't the case. But I'm going to tell you, all that was done through anxiety, a lot of struggle, a lot of tension. And I'm just now actually realizing, after many, many years, that I could have been treated in a different way. And I am a very, very huge advocate for homeopathic, natural ways to fix your brain, your mind, just your total overall well-being. Because I went down, I saw psychiatrists, I saw counselors, I mean, the list goes on for years. I literally had to take my mental health journey into my own hands after asking for help, but then finding the right person that was good for me. And he told me that out of 734 concussions that he treated, that mine was the worst that he'd ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just turned 45. I don't feel 45.
You don't look 45.
Thanks.
To be honest.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sometimes I feel 100. Sometimes age is only a bloody number for crying out loud. So it's time is only something human beings have conceptualized for meetings. So
listen, there's no time for meetings for a fucking global pandemic right now.
I know it's just like one big meeting.
Yeah.
What this is teaching us, right? Like,
fuck, we're all in the same boat. We're all going through the same trauma. I had a guest on my podcast. I forget, it was a few guests ago, and we spoke about that. We spoke about how people don't seem to realize that even though they might not even believe in this pandemic or that it's a thing, we're all going through something traumatic right now for every single body on this planet. And we're all kind of like feeling it together. But unfortunately, we were all given different tools how to deal with them. So some people, like, you know, I'll take me, for example, I was like, all right, like the thing I need to focus is I have to make sure that my family and my wife and my 2 kids are taken care of during this critical time. And I need to make sure they stay healthy and everybody's cool, because we're going to be spending a lot of time together, and we need to not want to kill each other after, you know, it's been 10 months. So I've done a good job of me and the wife. So I'm really proud of that. But on the same hand, I've seen people not being able to adapt to just a simple change, you know, and freak out and create more division in this world. But I mean, that we could speak about that for completely different podcast. You said something.
We're living in the great disconnect. Never have we been so disconnected yet so connected at the same time.
It's amazing.
And people are showing their true colors. I believe there's a huge spiritual component to this as well.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, look, I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories or anything like that. Do I think those masks are good for you? No. It's been proved that those masks are not good for you. And you know, if you're lucky enough to have a home gym and have nature near you, probably the best place to, you know, obviously to take advantage of your physical well-being and your mind is in nature, and obviously, you know, getting your exercise in. But, you know, the collateral damage, I think that this is going to be that this is causing.
It's going to be greater than what it actually did to people, because you're right. Like, more and more, obviously, I think it's going to shed light on mental health more.
That's all it's doing.
Yeah. But I think we waited too long. It was like, like we've just been, the people suffering with mental health are like, we've only been telling you forever. But then the people outside are going to go like, yeah, maybe like you're seeing it. Like I've known people that committed, that not personal friends, but I've met people in life that committed suicide during this pandemic because they lost everything. Business, like, you know, you build something from the ground up, put all your money, all your effort, and then you open a business. I know of people that opened businesses in February and they got to shut down a month later. Like you're open a month, you're like, man, this is going good. Boom, shut down. Haven't been able to operate because it's a gym. Been able to operate for 8 to 10 months. So it's like, you know, lost revenue. But before I forget, I wanted to say something that I want to put some emphasis on that. I think it's something really important because I've dealt with it, is not being afraid to live your emotions. You said something earlier that I think a lot of people, although people are way more open about their mental health, and that's what I want people to be, is more open about their mental health, especially men. You know, there's a kind of like a dark cloud over for men. I think.
Well, you know, it's good that you say that. You know that 85% of the suicides are men in Canada right now. 85%. The suicide rate as of last month went up 200%. And what do people that suffer from mental health issues usually turn to? Isolation. So this is all, I think, showing that we are all universally attached and connected, interconnected. How can we not be when we're living on a spinning world of energy? And we all share this world together. We're the ones that put up the borders. We're the ones that created all these laws. We're the ones that created an educational system that I think is failing.
Yeah.
I believe that emotional intelligence should be taught of like in grade school. Yeah, there's foods, but are we learning how to eat the right foods? Are we learning about being compassionate and kind to others? And, you know, I think a lot of it too is society illness, is that we have created this wave of like, this is the way it's got to be. And if it's not this way, then like it's not right. Like
Yeah.
there is no right or wrong way. And what they say is like what we have to obey. So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I did a TED Talks on mental health after I rode across Canada in 2019. And I talked about natural-based plant medicines being able to reinforce the brain to homeostasis, which I truly believe. And they took that part out of the video. And it's because
Really?
because I mentioned Big Pharma, because Big Pharma loves the fact that they can capitalize on this. Right now,
Yeah.
antidepressants have shot through the roof.
Of course.
Antidepressants dispersal, obviously. So people are a lot of people are depressed because they have empathy towards others. If we're all connected and this is all going on at the same time, people are feeling sad for each other, and we need human connection. If we don't have human connection, community, unity, and unconditional love in our life, what do we have? Yeah, we can have self-love to a certain degree, but you know, we can only self-love ourselves so much before we go crazy and we're not with somebody that can actually like hold ourselves and like give us a hug, you
Yeah.
know, and like people behind masks. It's sad to see. All you see is eyes now. And a lot of those eyes you see aren't very happy. They're sad.
It's hard to put yourself in someone else's head, especially if you're not surrounded by a strong support system. Like I'm super grateful, and I've mentioned it on my podcast before. I mentioned to my friend, like I am so grateful that I am able to live. I'm not grateful that I'm living through a global pandemic. I'm not grateful about that, but I'm grateful that to have my support system, to be surrounded by the only three people that would ever want to be in this forever, right? My two kids and my wife, and we were able to live together and not like always be angry. Like we're good at supporting each other. But I know people that personally and not so personally, but I know they don't have that support system, and I know they're struggling, but they don't want to come out and say it because they're like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. But man, you've been alone for so long, man. You live alone. You don't have a girlfriend. You're working on like, whew, it's rough, man. It's really rough because you're right. You do need that connection. I was explaining it to my wife the other day. I said, I miss going to the gym. I didn't go to the gym to conversate with people, but I was surrounded by like-minded people that were there to just like, all right, I'm here
Get
for an
healthy,
hour.
get a good sweat.
Yeah, right.
Get those endorphins going.
I didn't necessarily need to talk to the people to all look and go like, well, we're all here for some reason or another. But just the energy that was in that building while I was there is something that helped me. When I got home from the gym and I had a good workout, my wife was like, man, you're in the best mood. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I said, I shedded all this energy, all this anxiety through my workout. I'm like, let's do it. And then I'm more open to other people. And it's changed who I am as a man from the time that I genuinely took my mental health in hand. And I never pretended that I had issues like you. Like I look at a guy like you and I'm like, wow, like, you're taking care of your mental health, but you've gone through the grind, I guess we could say. I had some issues, might not have been as severe, but I realized that if I didn't take care of these little issues now, they were going to grow into something that when I'm in my 40s and 50s, I'm not going to be able to. I've seen it happen where you shut down and you don't want to talk to anybody. You just want to be there and you're kind of just waiting to die after a while. And because in your head, there's all sorts of feelings that you just don't want to tell or show people.
Well, apathy kicks in, lack of motivation, lack of purpose. I missed out. I should have been this. I could have done that. And what this has done, this whole C thing, I hate to say the word even, has it's literally made people when people isolate, they have too much time to think about their past traumas, about what happened in the past. So they're reliving them because they're in this isolation mode more so than they would. I know people are still going outside, but it's this new normal, they call it. Like, what is new normal? What is this? Like, this is far from normal. And it's been far from normal for a long time. And there's, I don't believe a lot that I hear. I don't watch TV. I took my TV down years ago. I can't stand negative news. And usually that's all that's on there, especially in the beginning.
They don't tell you the good news because it doesn't, there's no clicking on good news.
Because they want to keep people low.
They scared, keep us fear,
fear.
Yeah,
exactly. False evidence appearing right. So, it's a lot of people are really, really suffering, amplified because of the fact that they have so much time to go back into their memory bank of their subconscious mind, which is 10,000 times more powerful than their conscious mind. And that's bringing forth these amplified emotions and triggering mechanisms that leads people, say, to drinking more, using drugs. So that's why we're seeing so many overdoses and suicides, because people are having too much time on their plate to actually think about, like, oh, how crappy is my life? I shouldn't have done this. Oh, that, my finance. And it's sad, but true. The thing is there's not enough resources right now that are sustainable to actually help these people actually get over the hump, because there's so many roadblocks. And, I get calls every day, every single day. And I feel bad sometimes because I can't answer all these calls. And I do the best I can, but I've had people lash out on me. I've been judged, I've been whatever, and ridiculed.
Isn't that funny? You put yourself out there to help everybody, and you're like, dude, I have time to help all of you right now, and people get mad. You're like, you're not in time.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
I'm going to change my name and wear a wig the next time I go across the country.
I'm
not a cyclist.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about your podcast. You're doing a podcast with Elvis Stoico, if I'm not mistaken, right? And tell me, have you guys have started the podcast already, right?
No, we haven't. Actually. Okay. It's going to be coming soon. So Elvis is back in Canada, and he's an aspiring actor now, and we all know he's a legend in Canada for his figure skating accolades. 4-time world champion, and Olympian. Amazing. And whatnot, and just a wonderful, wonderful human being. He was introduced to me by another wonderful friend of mine who played in the National Hockey League, and he's been able to use that platform to obviously attract people, like-minded people, and guys that are on, I guess, I don't believe anybody's any worse or better than anybody. We're all in this together, right?
Yeah,
but if you can use especially now, and but if you can use your platform for good, which we're going to be doing, and it's all going to be focused on giving back. That's what Elvis and Jim Thompson, who you can look him up. Jim Thompson's Dreams Come True. I can even send you a link. He'd be a good guy to have on your podcast as well.
Awesome.
I can send you some of his information, and you can let him know you talked to me. And he's an open book and just a heart of gold. And so it just it's the lines. Jim and I, he's 10 years older than me, and with a world of experience and knowledge, owns a junior hockey team in Aurora, in Ontario, the Aurora Tigers. And so he's actively involved in his community. He won't be upset that I say that he's had his issues. He's put it right out in the open with substance abuse. He does interventions. He does public speaking all over the place. He is the epitome of world service and a great mentor to me. And so hopefully the three of us will feed off each other well, and just, open up dialogue, the full mental health spectrum, into athletes, into just everyday people. It's all about the people, man.
Yeah.
So we're all over the map in our own way.
Yeah, I'm glad to see people like you using platforms like podcasting, using technology to really like put your story out there, because we have so many different ways now. You could YouTube, you could do podcasting, you could do everything now. And like I said, I started podcasting many years ago simply because I'm like, it's this easy to podcast. I mean, I can record myself and put it out there, pay a small fee for a website, and that's it. And everybody was like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then it grew into what it is now. You know, I'm still not like, you know, like super, super popular, but the goal for me is to talk to people like you, because for not just for me, but so that other people can listen to, you know, your story, or, you know, I like talking to entertaining, inspiring, motivating someone with a story that can help someone else. So, and it's opened the door for me of meeting great people. I mean, I've been in mixed martial arts for many years, and for the last 4.5 years, I've been a pro wrestler. So I've been able to meet another group of people that I had never, you know, thought I would ever become, you know, and it was completely new to me. I met some of the most interesting, some people that I call brothers now. They're like family to me. Like I can name 5, 6 guys that I'm like,
have you met
wow.
George out there?
George St. Pierre?
Yeah.
No, I've met, oh man, years ago when I started training here in Montreal, when I first moved here, I started training at TriStar. I actually trained there for 2 or 3 years. I met him. He was in the gym a few times, you know, like, hey, like talking to the guys, but he was on a different schedule. We were just like, when I met BJ Penn a few times, the gym and when I was in Toronto and Mississauga, he came there, gave a few seminars. So I've met a few of the guys, and they're, you know, at the end of the day, they're fighters are a different breed. They're, know, they're
a lot like hockey players.
Yeah, man. And I have a lot of friends that, you know, play hockey and athletes in general, you know, like I've been around mixed martial artists. I've been around even the pro wrestlers. I've been around really good athletes, and there's just this mentality of like, man, you gotta be hard, and you gotta be tough mentally, not just physically, but it's the mental grind. I think that gets to most of the athletes. I've met some of the most athletic men or even women in the world, but if they didn't have that mental edge, they would plateau, and someone else that had just a sharper mind would just outwork them along the way and just surpass them. And once you surpass someone you know is super talented, you're like, it's like a rocket fuel. It's like, boo, now I'm good, you know. And I've seen a few of those unfortunate stories, and it's
you just got to ask yourself what level you want to take it to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's always different levels, but you set the bar.
And you take sacrifice, right? Every level is like, if I want to be here, I can't have this in my life anymore. And that's something that I realized once I was trying to get to a certain level, and then I had my son, and then I had, you know, and then I thought, well, family is something I've wanted my whole life. And it's something that I really cherish, and it made me deviate a little bit. I'm like, I can still be that savage that, you know, but I can't give that sacrifice anymore. I'd rather spend time with my families on the weeknights than be at the gym just grinding it every single night for 3-4 hours. It wasn't a reality in my life anymore. So I switched, and I'm happy now, you know.
You sound centered and balanced. So, and the podcast is a great medium and very therapeutic as well, because you do talk to people that are like-minded, and it gets you outside yourself. That's what I really like, is that, you know, part of just serving others is getting outside of you and giving a piece of you to the masses. And like I said, it's not about how many Instagram followers. It's not about how many Facebook replies or likes or pokes or whatever. And like, would we all like to be making millions of dollars so we could contribute to whatever off podcasts? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And will that maybe happen someday? Maybe, who knows?
Maybe.
But at the end of the day, it's just about showing up and giving your authentic, true self to people. And I think that's how you gain respect, and you just keep moving forward with your own, solid foundation, which is, just being true to yourself.
It's important to be transparent to people,
yes,
because it's something that I wouldn't say I struggle with in life. It's just I didn't pay it any attention. I would say stuff about myself when I was younger, and I'd be like, people won't remember if it's true or not. And I'm like, I might kind of perceive myself to be this way, but I'm not really that way. And then after a while, you're like, well, I can't keep this up It's going to be harder to keep this facade up than if I was just transparent in who I fucking was. And once I started being more and more transparent in life, I started being way more comfortable with who I was. I'd be like, man, like, I don't feel such like shit today. Maybe it's because I was a bit more transparent with the people I love on who I was and the feelings that I was feeling. You know, if I was feeling like crap, I'd be like, listen, I have these feelings that I'd want to talk about, and I'd be more and more transparent. And when I started being transparent with my mental health publicly, like sharing it on social media, that's when I started feeling like, wow. Once I got that first message where someone told me, hey, really good video, it really helped me, I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't need a million of these. Once in a while, someone sends me a text, I listened to an episode of your podcast, it's great. I'm like, all right, mission accomplished. I'm good. And I just keep moving forward, and hopefully,
Absolutely.
Right. If it happens to blow up one day, then it blows up. Hopefully I won't change who I am. But for now, it's like, I want to put some positive vibes and energy out there and just be who I am. And I think that a lot of people are afraid to say how they feel because they've never met anybody say how they feel, like that share that same emotion, but they'd be surprised on how many people do share the same
Really
emotion, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You nailed it right there. Is that, and that just goes back even to 85% of the people that are taking their lives are men. And you know what? It's okay for men to cry. It's, I bawled my eyes out yesterday after my chiropractor treatments. I got my spine completely cracked into alignment of some sort. And I was like, all
it
these
releases something,
coming,
right?
So it started releasing the emotions. I came out, I felt like it was, it's obviously, it was a reinforcement,
Of course.
So it's okay for guys to cry. It's okay for guys to hug each other. It's okay for guys to let loose on how they feel from the depths of their soul, of their inner being. I mean, that's who to me, I believe that I'm not all preachy religious, but I believe we are, spiritual beings having a human experience. And we're here to give creative expression. And if we don't have that outlet of being able to use our creative faculties of our imagination and, blending those desires of, just pure creation, where are we going to find those outlets? It's like, I'm not going to find mine in a cubicle working on a computer. Sorry.
I did it for years. I guarantee you it brought forward all these mental health issues.
I was just going to say that would give me mental health or whatever.
It was horrible. Towards the end, I was like, I can't keep coming to work like this every day. It wasn't the place. It wasn't the company. It was just this is not who I am. I started showing up with hand tattoos, with a big beard, and people were like, man, you work in an office, man. Like, and I was like, I can't take the stairs anymore. I'm like, this is who I am as a person. I need to be more creative. I need to figure out a way to maneuver in life, because I can't come to work in a cubicle every single day. Would put my headset on, I tap on my computer till 5 o'clock comes around so I can go bitch about my life to my wife and I was not a happy person. And now I'm completely changed, and maybe I'm making less money, but hey man, I don't give a shit. I'm happy.
I'd rather make less money and be happy than make more money, more problems. And you're talking to someone who's made a couple bucks in his life.
Right.
Enough to sometimes I look back on it and I was like, was that even real? I don't even know how that was created. It was insanity. There was I really don't even know how much money I was actually, all I know is because I had an accountant running the books one year, we did over $90 million in business. And, it's huge money, right?
Christ. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah, of course not. But still, it's not like you got $10 out of it. Like you got a little bit more than $10.
Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions. And then you got to find places to put those millions. And then you got to, it's just, it's never ending drama.
I cannot imagine the stress. Yeah.
It really is. It's, you know what? Just as long as you got a couple of, one or two nice sources of income coming in that you can live comfortably on and provide. That's it, man. I think that's a lot what this is all teaching us too. It's loving us all up, is that you know, we're all these celebrities now. We're all equal.
They can't work sometimes as much as we can't work. They can't earn a living. You know, they're living off what they earned before. But yeah, we're all in the same boat. And I think it's showing a lot of people some humility as well, where we're like, man, like we need some changes in society if we're going to try to go forward after this pandemic. Like there's changes that need to be made. And it exposed a lot of bullshit. And I always explain it like this. I feel like a lot of people, sometimes they just look at the surface. They go, what's on the surface? And they're just like, all right, good. And then they don't look at the issues in between they just look at the surface, but there's so many things. And I think this quote unquote pandemic has really exposed a lot of assholes but a lot of people that, you know, people
are showing their true colors.
Yeah. And a lot of emotions as well. And to really show like, man, I didn't think you were like that, but you can't deal with this shit. And then look at you now. It's in a way, for me, I believe for me, it's good because like you said, true colors, right? Now I know I can trust that guy. I cannot trust that guy anymore.
100%.
Right. But
100%.
Also you said something before, and I want to add to that. Something spiritual where for me, it's like, I always try to see it in my head. Like I'm a ball of energy and we're all connected on this platform, which is whatever, planet Earth. And if I can connect myself to the similar energy, then we become stronger and that energy is able to grow. So if I think I'm a good ball of energy, I'm going to try to associate myself with like-minded people that I share the same opinions, but in the same positive vibes, right? But it works both ways. The people that aren't as nice and that don't see things, that energy also attracts that energy.
Exactly.
It's who's going to win. And I'm like, man, can't we all just give ourselves big hugs after a while? And just because I feel that face to face, and this is why I like podcasting sometimes, because when I talk to someone, you can only bullshit for so long after a while.
Exactly.
You're like you were talking now. At first I was nervous. Now I'm loose. I can talk for hours now, but and I won't. Don't worry. But
it's okay. I got till like midnight.
It's like, yeah, that energy. Sometimes I feel like right now there's such a pull in both directions. Like, no, I'm
shift.
right. You're
Absolutely.
right. I'm like, can't we just go, hey, we need some of you people on the right, and we also need some people on the left. Can we just compete for these ideas and maybe come up with solutions or whatever you want to call them, right? But at the end of the day, if you think this needs to be red and you think it needs to be yellow, can we just come to a compromise and try to see what works better for everybody? But people are like, no, I need my side to win, not your side. I'm on team A and team A needs to win. And I'm like, fuck, we're all on the same team. It's because we, like you said before, we create these borders, not only for countries, but in our lives as well, where we create these borders where like, I ain't letting anybody that doesn't believe like me pass this border. And if you come here, I'm going to shit on you and treat you like shit. And I'm like, I can't associate myself with people like that anymore.
Well, you just got to think of all the possibilities that just landed you here on the scene called planet Earth. So it's like, we're non-physical energy that poured ourselves into a physical body before we even landed here. Now, in between the gap, there's the opportunity to conceive, create, experience, repeat. We radiate that which we are. So yeah, it's all vibes, vibrations. It's like radio transmitters. The first radio known to man was created in between the 2 ears of man. You know, look at the Wright brothers with inventing a plane. Look at it took Edison 10,000 plus times to perfect the incandescent light bulb. Henry Ford with the horseless carriage. Goes on and on and on and on and on. Thoughts truly do become things. So whatever we
everything we hold in our hands was once a thought in someone's hand. Like, I'm going to invent a cup. And no cups, I don't think, but I think we need something that we can pour liquid in so we could put it in our mouth better without having to do it with our hands. Oh, okay. It was a thought. Someone had a thought, and then that energy became a thing right here.
Exactly.
So phones, everything. I think
so. You just have to believe it to receive it. That's
right.
the thing. you know. So yeah, that's why they call the imagination's like the workshop of the mind.
Yeah.
So
I'm always interested in the people that are willing to put in the work in between the thought of something and to the final product of something.
into the actual physical manifestation.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Because
a
I
great
think,
book you should
go.
There's
I'm
a great
interested in
book, Think and Grow Rich, written in 1937 by Napoleon Hill. And if you really want to know how to transmute desire into its physical or monetary equivalent, read that book. That book has 13 principles. And once you pick that book up, you won't want to put it down. I recommend the classic version because it's the old school one. And I'm all about like, you know, feeling it from the actual guy that actually was channeling that stuff. I mean, he's introduced to his higher self through a gentleman by the name of Andrew Carnegie, who started the Great American Steel Corporation way back. And he actually wanted Napoleon Hill to study the most successful people in America at that time. And so he devoted 25 years of his life.
Wow.
And literally within associating himself with these, you know, people that had the desire to contribute to humanity. As we know, there's no such reality as something for nothing. So it was all about, you know, finding what they were going to serve, finding that definiteness of purpose, then, you know, obviously, you know, forging forward with that burning desire towards that purpose, and then obviously transmuting that into its physical counterpart. So,
Think and Grow Rich, right? That's it. That's the name.
Yeah, it's a great book. Yeah, Think and Grow Rich, and a lot of self-help. I don't like to tell anybody how to live their life. So that's the.
You can recommend stuff, right? If you've lived through certain things, you can recommend, and people. Look, that's me too. Like sometimes.
Hey, you can get my book. My book's on Amazon. Return to Happiness. Ryan Phillips. Ryan's Journey on Amazon, and actually, a lot of those principles in that book were taken from Think and Grow Rich, and it's all factual. I followed those principles, and that's what got me the pardon back down to the United States after I was told I was never going to be allowed down there again for conspiracy, obviously, to import that green plant that's now legal.
That ganja. Listen,
yeah,
it's weird, right? That we get thrown into cages because of a fucking plant that grows in the earth. To me, it never made any sense. Even when I was younger, I never used to consume marijuana. I do now, but before, when I was younger, I obviously had tried it when I was younger. But I always thought, I'm like, I don't understand how people call these drugs when it's grows out of the ground and it's not processed in any time. You let it dry and you smoke it, and then you're good to go. I'm like, that's a fucking plant. I could just pick any other plant and smoke it too. It doesn't mean because it doesn't get me high, but this one makes me think differently and blah. I'm like, all right, cool, dude.
Well, there's different strains, and you know, it can be, it's like anything, you know, everything in moderation. I mean, am I pro cannabis? I would say I'm neutral. If it works for you, it works for you. You know, for a lot of people, if they're smoking dabs and shatter and diamonds all day, they're going to be no. But if, you know, I have a medicinal card for it, and you know, I've been very open about it. Obviously, you know, my story's it's out there. I mean, I've been smoking pot for you know, I smoked pot for many years, but now, you know, if I'm using medicinal marijuana, it's for a purpose. It's because I don't sleep well, you know, and it helps with my inflammation. It helps with my creativity.
It's the same reason why I smoke.
I don't drink. I don't drink.
Me neither.
I'm a non-drinker, and yeah, I believe that if you're getting it from the right source, then it's and it works for you, then
exactly right.
It's a lot better than picking up a Mickey of whiskey. And you know, not every time you drink do you do something stupid, but usually you know, 9 times out of 10, if you're getting smashed, something bad's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, you're gonna edge your bet on that one, because I know if I drank too much when I was younger, I'd get in some dumb shit, and I'd be like, I know, even older. I stopped drinking a couple years ago simply because I didn't see why. It's not that I was really a problem, you know, I was drinking a lot of wine, but it was like, I didn't see why I needed that in my life. It didn't bring anything positive into my life. I was trying to be this health guru or this health person that, you know, always talking about how nutrition changed my life and how workouts and fitness for me changed my life. That's why I'm such an advocate of that. And for my mental health and my physical health, like let's be honest, I'm 40. I'm pretty proud of how healthy I am at this point, considering the abuse I've put on my body. But for me, for example, weed helps me sleep. That's where I started using it. I'm like, I was going through some bad bouts of insomnia, not knowing it was really related to anxiety. This is back when the anxiety was its worst, and I didn't know how to cope with it. It helped me to sleep. And then once I started realizing also I'm way more creative if I need to be more obviously the strains, I started reading into that too, but it helps me. Honestly, I hate to say it like this, but sometimes I'm a better person when I'm, you know, a little bit one talk. I'm like, all right, I'm more relaxed. I can enjoy life. My kids like to be around me a little bit more. It's just, to me, it's good, you know, and it helps me a lot. But again, I know people that don't touch it because
Well,
it's for them, you know?
There's a choice. Opiates and antidepressants and crap, or natural stuff from the earth that
I won't even put Advil in my body. So I'm
not
like,
me
my
neither.
wife,
I'm the same way.
my wife yells at me. She's like, take a fucking Advil. You have a headache. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna drink a lot. I'm gonna lay down. And most of the time, one thing that I found helps recently with a lot of little ailments, instead of taking, I sit down and I breathe. I have this breathing method I do. It's just 6 seconds in, breathe,
4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. I go.
And I do this and I regulate my heartbeat.
Buddha belly.
Yeah, exactly. I've been breathing through my diaphragm now a lot, which has changed how my body actually is. Like I've been.
Well, it changes your whole self-regulation. Yeah. Breathing is the breath of life. Without that, you're done. Right?
And I've been able to fix these small issues that anxiety spikes up. I sit down, I breathe. If I do it right, really short amount of time, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm back. If I'm having trouble sleeping, I'll breathe before bed. I'll relax. I do a lot of stretching before bed, which really helps. Like I'll do stretch and foam roll almost every night. Good for you.
Well, next time I'm out in Montreal, we'll have to do that together.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. That'd really be awesome. Listen, Ryan, I feel like I could speak to you for hours. And
absolutely. We can always do it again. We'll do another one.
Please.
We'll do a part 2 on everything we missed.
Dude, I love having conversation. I don't even mind, like if you call in and we just hit record and we talk about whatever I do it with my friends, and I feel they're the best podcast, because after a while you're just like,
I always say that too. I'm like, this should have been a podcast. Like we just had like the best conversation for like 2 hours. I'll be like in the phone, like, this should have been a podcast. Yeah, we should have had like record. You know what I mean?
I do that with my wife. I'll when I have shit to work out, my wife, bless her soul, I'm extremely grateful. I'll start talking and she knows. She'll sit down and she's like, all right. And for 40 minutes, I'll just spew my stupid ideas or and then I feel better. And she's like, this was extremely interesting. I was like, this should have been a podcast. We should have our own podcast. She's like, I'm like, I'm telling you, because sometimes I feel like I talk to the people you're around and you're like, man, that was such good information. I wish. And then you forget about it, right? But sometimes in that conversation, when you have that first initial thought, the second time you try to re-explain it to people, sometimes it's not as good. And you're like, man, I did a really crappy job at explaining that thought I had yesterday, but whatever. That's why I like podcasting. And that's why I like having these types of conversations. They're
I like
awesome,
you, man. Podcasting. So keep doing it.
Thank you.
Just keep being you and keep being real. That's all you are. And I can feel you, bro. And you know what? I'm proud of you. And so whatever I can do to help, spread the message and get you guys out there. And, I really appreciate you asking me about my podcast. It's going to be up and coming. So
listen, I'm looking forward to it just because of, obviously now
just because of Elvis.
More. And because obviously Elvis, huge Elvis fan. I'm using you to get to Elvis. I hope you don't mind. No, I'm just kidding.
No problem. I'm used to it.
Man, it couldn't be any further from the truth. Ryan, thanks a lot for doing this. Tell the people the few videos they can go and see, if whatever's available on YouTube and your Instagram, whatever you want to tell people about right now. I'd really appreciate it.
If you want to follow me, Instagram is at Ryan Phillips Warrior. You can go on to YouTube for free. You can watch Return to Happiness, which is all about the law of vibration, the law of attraction, giving back, and you'll see actually how I got my pardon back down to the United States of America. It's almost kind of a prelude to my life story within a multitude of stories, as I said before. We've had lots of good reviews on that. I got a book on Amazon, Return to Happiness, Ryan's Journey. And then on Locked Up Abroad, National Geographic. I'll send you links to this and you can share it with your people if you want.
Please, thank you. I will.
And then they don't have to pay for any of this kind of stuff, unless the book, you got to buy the book off Amazon. But
listen,
so
appreciate it, Ryan. Again, thank you again. And again, I hope we can do this again.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Anytime, man.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Anytime I'm not busy.
No worries. Same here. I've been busy. So thanks a lot.
All right. You take care of your health, take care of your family. And I guess we're off air.
Perfect. All right. Cheers.
Peace.
Peace.